Alright guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be looking at the Formula 1 grid for 2025. Now, a lot of the grid is already starting to form, so don't worry about that. I'm going to include them in, but I'm going to fill out the rest of it because I can. And if you disagree, you can comment down below where you don't agree, but I'll explain all my decisions, so don't worry. Gonna blast through this, we're going to get it done, and we're going to decide on the grid for next year. I think there's some exciting moves, and there's some ones that kind of affect each other, so let's go. Now, let's get straight into it. Let's not mess around. Let's just be simple. We're going to start easily, obviously. Charles Leclerc, he is going to be at Ferrari next year. We know that. Let's not play stupid. There was a potential, obviously, a lot of people thought, are they going to eventually bring someone through? Obviously, you never really thought Sainz was going to be leaving there. But let's go to where Sainz will be next year. And I think the obvious one at the moment is he looks like he could be heading towards Audi. But I think Audi have got another plan up their sleeve at the moment. Obviously, they've just signed Hülkenberg. So what we're going to do with Sainz, we're going to put Sainz in Red Bull for next year. And I think he's going to be there, and he's going to be partnered with Max Verstappen. That's going to be our first two so far. And obviously, you can see down below, most of the ones in white, they're the ones that are currently on the grid. And the others are a couple additionals. So let's actually start with an additional. Let's jump in here. Ollie Behrman obviously had a brief cameo in Saudi Arabia. He had a pretty good showing, and I think he's going to get himself a seat for next year because I think the hype's going to be there for him, and Ferrari are going to feel the need to kind of push him. He's received a lot of support. There's going to be a reason to start kind of push him through. Obviously, Hamilton isn't going to be around forever. He's probably a couple years at Ferrari before leaving. So, Ollie Behrman is going to Haas. Obviously, we know they have a Ferrari engine, so I think it makes sense. Bring him in there and really let him kind of home himself and enjoy himself there as well. But obviously, speaking of Hamilton, we know he's going to be at Ferrari next season, and I think that's just an obvious move. There's no point even trying to dispute that. They're not going to turn around and say no, so that one's absolutely certain. Obviously, he is leaving George Russell behind, who will be staying at Mercedes next year. I don't think Russell's as safe as it seems, but they've obviously invested a lot into him, so I think they're going to give him a couple years, but not completely sold on it. But let's move around some of the grid as well. We know Alonso will be staying at Aston Martin. That has been confirmed now as well. So I think he's pretty secure. Let's leave him there. That's safe. Anyone disagree with that? You're mental. Let's be very easy. Yuki Tsunoda, he's another one I want to talk about. He is going to be staying, obviously, at Team RB. I think they're kind of looking at him potentially for a Red Bull seat in the future. We're aware that with the Honda engine, I think he could potentially even be pulled over to Aston Martin at some point. People aren't talking about that enough. If they do get rid of Stroll, he's a potential option when they do switch over to Honda and that team that moves over there. I think he could easily go into that seat. He's kind of been the best of the rest for a while. Well, for a while. About the last half a season and now start of this season. And I think he could potentially go in there, especially with the market in Japan. They're going to want to keep in that, so bear that in mind. And talking about being in the market, we're going to talk about Audi and Sauber. So Hülkenberg, he obviously is going to be going to Audi. We know that, so he'll be at Sauber next season. And I think they're gonna want to go big with that next one. But I think they're going to either go big, so i.e. get in maybe a Sainz or someone like that, or they're going to go very strategic with it. They're going to play it smart. And I think the smart move is, we know they announced their car in Shanghai, so let's bring in a Chinese driver. And Zhou Guanyu is the perfect driver to obviously bring in because he's Chinese. I don't know why I made that so obvious, obviously. But now, I think that would be a good little pairing. I think it kind of keeps them, it makes me feel like they're a bit mid-table-ish. I think I want Audi to kind of really come in and push towards the top, but you got to walk before you can run, all the usual jazz. Another team that's pretty secure, McLaren. I think Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, I put them in the other way around. I'm not an idiot, don't worry. They are going to be at their team next season. I think they're going to pretty much enjoy a stint there. I think that's going to be a partnership for at least next season. Potentially going into new regulations. I'm not sure Piastri, unless he kind of drops off massively, will get replaced. But I think if the right driver comes available, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull the trigger. I think it would make sense, kind of. Piastri doesn't give me like world champion vibe, but then he does surprise me sometimes. So I don't know. That's another one for you to comment down below. I might be going absolutely balmy with that one. Let's talk about another team here. We got Haas here. I think they're going to bring Bottas in. And for that reason I think he's an experienced driver at a world championship winning team. He was obviously at Mercedes for a few years, and he's got experience and calmness, and he's a very good teammate. I think he'll be very helpful for Ollie Behrman to learn off as well and understand what it's like competing at the top. I think Bottas is the one. He's a race winner. As I said, he's been in World Championship constructor teams. He knows what he's doing. He's an experienced qualified driver, and he's not going to want to lose his seat on the grid. But obviously, I think Zhou Guanyu holds more weight to Audi with the Chinese market and all that stuff as well. Bottas is going to get replaced by Hülkenberg. That will be the move. Unless something's changed since I've done this video, then I'm going to lose the plot. But let's look at the rest of it. I'm going to go to Williams. And surprisingly, I think Albon is going to still be at that team. I just don't see him being able to be moved anywhere else. I thought he was a potential for the Mercedes second seat. I think he's probably their backup plan, but I don't think he's their first option. I think they want to kind of look at Antonelli and bringing him through. So you've got Albon, again, an experienced driver, but also somebody, if Albon doesn't kind of flourish and do well in F1, you kind of got the option to kind of bring him in the meantime whilst he kind of learns. Obviously, they were very patient with Russell, so I think they would be patient with him as well. But I think Albon coming in, I think it keeps Albon in the same position so he can make a move if maybe Ferrari want to get him after. I don't think that's going to happen. Or maybe back to Red Bull. Don't think that's going to happen either. I think the McLaren is a long shot. I think he's just going to have to stay here for now. I can see him probably being out of the sport in the next couple of years because I don't really see there's a further move for him. Potentially Aston Martin. I just don't know. But to partner him, we've got Kimi Antonelli. So I think he is going to be the one there because they're going to bring him in on the Russell job, aim to put him there for a season or two, and I think they're going to kind of let him home it and kind of learn his craft a bit further. I know it's a bit early. I didn't think he'd be coming to F1 so soon, but I can't really see any other moves. So I think I'm going to go with this shot. I think that's the best way for him to learn. They're not going to throw him into the Mercedes seat. I just don't think that's his time. And I don't think it's Mercedes' strategy. As I said with Russell, they didn't do that with him either. So I think that's the best move. But obviously, who's going to partner Russell? I'm going to get to it. Don't worry. Before I do, I've got my favourite little pairing. One that I'm putting together because I just want both of them to stay on the grid. And if you don't like it, I don't care. Daniel Ricciardo and Perez at Alpine as well, and it's going to happen. They're going to get rid of them two crash jobs, bottle jobs, French. I know they love to keep the France in, but it's not happening. They need to replace them, bring them two in, and let's start making moves with that car, because I'm not going to lie, that car is one of the best looking cars on the grid when they get livery right, so it deserves to be higher up. For a personal gain, I'm not going to lie, it's just all about me. After that, we've obviously got who's going to partner Yuki Tsunoda. Obviously, it's going to be Lawson. Let's not be silly. He has to come back into it. I think the Ricciardo and Tsunoda one just isn't working. So I don't think Ricciardo, the way the season's going, is going to be able to outrank Sainz. So I am going to have him moving team completely. But I think I'm going to put him in there, and I'm going to put Lawson in his seat. I think that makes perfect sense. And yes, Lance Stroll is going to keep his seat, but I think only for a season. I think they're going to hold out a little bit further until maybe Newey joins and maybe can convince a Max Verstappen. Listen, I'm out here dreaming. You're going to have to get over it. I'm just like, yeah, I want carnage, so no. And obviously, as you can see down here, there's a lovely smiling face. And the last person who I think is going to partner at Mercedes with George Russell. And I think they're going to bring in for one season so they can judge it and potentially edge in for another one. Vettel. Yep. I think Vettel's returning, and that's purely because I want to see Hamilton versus Vettel in opposite cars. I'm a weirdo. I have a weird satisfaction from that, and seeing them both stood there in the opposite overalls. It'd be really weird to look at, but I think low-key quite satisfying, and I think it makes sense for Vettel. I think if he wants to come back into F1, that's obviously a big if. I think he can come back in. I think Mercedes is the perfect car to get back into, and I think it kind of leaves the door open for anything. I think if Aston Martin do have Alonso leave eventually, he could slide back in there. Don't think that's going to happen. But more importantly, I think the Audi move. I think if they don't find that second driver, if Zhou Guanyu isn't really settling in, they can bring him in there, a little German connection. I think it all kind of works out. Hülkenberg could potentially be replaced at end of 2026, bring Vettel in there. I think it just kind of reignites that little flame for him. And Mercedes should really be competing next year, so it kind of really gets a satisfaction for him as well. And who knows, he might just stay partnering with Russell for a couple of years. We don't know. Alonso's changed all this by staying around so long, so I think he just makes my brain work. And now I'm thinking, who's going to go where? I don't know. But if you don't agree with this, comment down below. If you do agree with it, thank you. I told you I speak sense for a long time. But that's it for me today. Comment down below, as I said, if you disagree. Comment down below if you agree. Comment if you just want to say hi. Thank you. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. Butchered that word. Thank you very much.